Hey guys, Real Estate Nate here, and today we're talking about moving to Mexico. For those of you that have seen the channel before, you know I live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Obviously I do real estate, but I moved here about 9 months ago. I moved here in February of 2024, and I've never actually shared what that process looked like, everything that went into that process. And I was gonna wait until being here for a full year, but I figured this video is a long time coming. Let me just share all the stuff that I've learned, all the things that I went through, so that hopefully you can get a better idea of what it takes and what it looks like if you were thinking about moving to Mexico. And I'm gonna share a ton of different things. I'm gonna talk about cost of living, I'm gonna talk about the different areas, I'm gonna talk about what it took to go through the residency process, and if that's necessary, depending on what you're trying to do, finding a place. I'm gonna give as much knowledge as I can. Of course, if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. I wanna create more videos like this as well, so if this is something that you like, please comment, please subscribe. I'll be posting more stuff like this. So let's get into it. The first thing I wanna talk about is why. Two things: why I wanted to find a new place to live, and why I chose Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So first off, why I was looking for something else. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I grew up in Victoria, just off the coast of Vancouver, and I love Vancouver. There's some beautiful things about it, especially in the summer, but I've never been a winter person, and Vancouver doesn't have the craziest winters, but if you've been there, they're just rainy and gloomy and whatever. So here's the thing. I was living in Vancouver, and to live in a city as expensive as Vancouver, if you don't love it, it kind of for me, I was like, what's the point? Why do I want to live in a city where it's so expensive to do anything? And then even in the winter too, it's not as nice to just go out for a walk and just enjoy. I found myself inside so much of the year. I found myself working at being social and finding ways to connect with people, and I just got sick of it. So I was looking for something different, and that took me to PV. So I had been here a couple times before obviously deciding to move here. So I knew the area, I knew things, and I always tell people the one thing, obviously PV's beautiful. Come on, the beaches, the community and its proximity to where I'm from, all good things. But the number one thing, so I actually used to work on cruise ships. So I've been to a ton of different tropical places. I've been all over the Caribbean. I've been to different parts of Mexico. Obviously I've been to Europe and a bunch of other places, but for tropical locations close to Canada, PV was one of the first places I ever went where I found the tourists, the expats, and the locals could share spaces. And I loved it because I've been to the Bahamas, I've been to Jamaica, I've been to other places in the Caribbean, and I feel like in a lot of places you don't get that. You get the touristy places and you get the local places, and it doesn't mix at all. And I would never want to live in a place like that full time. That just didn't make sense to me. That's one thing I loved about it, because I knew moving here, I would feel at home. I wouldn't feel like a guest as much. So I'm very grateful that I feel very at home here in Puerto Vallarta. So that's why and how I picked PV. Now, so let's talk about the residency thing. So like I said, I had been here a few times. So it was kind of a decision, a few months to years in the making. I looked into what it takes to become a resident. Now, first of all, depending on what you're looking for, you might not need to go through that process. A lot of countries, you can come down here for 6 months at a time. A lot of snowbirds that come down for the entire winter and only want to stay 6 months, they never go through the residency process. That's only if you want to stay longer than 6 months. If you're just looking to get away for the winters and then you still want to go home or travel elsewhere for the rest of the year, most people don't need the residency. The residency helps if you're looking to stay here for longer than 6 months. And that's where I was. So I started to go through that process. Now, I didn't really have anybody that pointed me in the right direction. I did end up hiring lawyers. I can link them below. They helped me once I figured out the process. They helped me just make sure I was checking all the boxes, and they helped with the process once I got to Mexico. But to keep it super simple, you've got to make an appointment with the Mexican consulate in your country. You can schedule an appointment and apply for either a temporary residency or a permanent residency. Now, the requirements to get those residencies, what's nice is there's no requirements as far as like how long you need to stay in Mexico. You have to buy property in Mexico. None of that applies. So it's nice because it's something you can apply for. And even if you decide, ooh, you know what, I only decided to spend 2 months a year in Mexico, it's okay. You're still eligible. That doesn't matter. Now, the thing is, there is an income or financial solvency requirement. So whether you're going to use, maybe you work remote or maybe you're retired and you can use your monthly income to show you can look after yourself financially, you can submit those numbers. For me, I decided to do the economic solvency option. So you can, as long as you're able to prove that you meet their minimum requirements as far as like money in the bank or an investment accounts or whatever, then you can apply. So they do that just to make sure that people that are getting their residency here can actually support themselves. It's that simple. So you can, and those minimum requirement for income or economic solvency are listed in the websites. They always change those. So go and check those. And so, my process, once I realized I did qualify and I wanted to go through the process, I scheduled an appointment at the consulate. I submitted all my paperwork. Once you've done that, you've handled the stuff in your own country, then you can come to Puerto Vallarta, or wherever in Mexico you want to go. Then you come here and you finish the process. So that's where the team that I hired helped me a lot. They scheduled all the appointments. They made sure I had all the right paperwork. They take you to the immigration office and they do all the things. And now I have my temporary residency. So it's great. And it's a process. People ask, is it hard? I say it's not hard. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, but the hoops aren't hard. It's very simple to get through all the processes, but there are a lot of processes, if you know what I mean. Now, let's talk about earning income in Puerto Vallarta. So most people, I'm not gonna lie, most people that move here are working remotely or they're retired. I did not fall into either of those categories, unfortunately. So I had to figure out, how can I make money? And that's another benefit of the residency, because if you do not have residency, you don't really have the right to earn income in Mexico. Now, as a resident, I cannot be an employee. So I don't have a work visa. I don't have an ability to be hired, but I can earn income. So I can earn income if I started my own business, if I do real estate, because I'm not an employee. If you open a business, if you have like vacation rental income, things like that, I'm able to earn income, but I'm not able to get a job, if that makes sense. So that's why, like I said, most people are either remote workers, they're retired, or they have another source of income down here, whether it's a business or something like that. And that's another benefit, like I said, of the residency. So now when it comes to finding a place to live, now, oh my God, the cutest little hummingbird is right behind the camera. Anyways, side note, when it comes to finding a place to live, now, one thing I'll recommend, if you've never been to Puerto Vallarta, come and check out all the different areas. So, I actually came down for a month in November, the November before I moved here in February. And I already knew where I wanted to live, but I came down temporarily to figure out, where I want to live, and also to make it easier. Because when you're here, it is easier to find those connections and those places. Like I said, I'd been here a few times before, so thankfully I was able to connect, and I have some local friends which really supported, in finding a place. So once you've decided where you want to stay, the best thing is to do a year lease. Because this is a very vacation-y spot, so if you're gonna look for like short-term rentals, you're gonna pay higher prices, of course. Now, for me, finding a yearly rental in Canada, I would look on like Craigslist, or there's a lot of different places I know to look. Here I was like, I don't know where to look, I don't know how to find this. A lot of people will tell you, look on Facebook Marketplace. I had no luck on Facebook Marketplace. I am a huge fan of the Facebook groups, especially for Puerto Vallarta. I don't know if every other place in Mexico is like this, but in Puerto Vallarta, there is so many amazing Facebook groups. There's like, maybe I'll try and link them below, but like affordable yearly rentals and like, things like that you can go into the groups, and in those groups you have a bunch of property managers and real estate agents listing properties for rent, and that's, I found, the most reliable place to find things. You can reach out to me. I do real estate sales, but of course living here, I do have a decent knowledge of what's going on. And if I have something that fits within what you're looking for, I would love to help, but it's not what I specialize in. The Facebook groups was my number one help for that. If I had to do it all over again, that's immediately where I would go. So get into those Facebook groups. You can just search Puerto Vallarta yearly rentals, Puerto Vallarta affordable yearly rentals, yada, yada, yada. Now, those yearly rentals, usually in PV, just so you have a little bit of knowledge, usually all the rentals come fully furnished, which is so nice, to the point where they have like plates and dishes and sheets, linens, all the stuff. So it makes moving here so much easier too, because every time I've moved around in Canada, you hire movers or you like pack everything into your car, whatever, like it's just a lot. Here, I literally brought 2 suitcases, that's it. And I showed up and my place is fully furnished. So that's one thing that makes it really, really nice. Another thing to note, usually when you sign a year lease, you'll pay first and last month plus a deposit. So usually it's like 3 months worth of rent right up front. So they're not trying to rip you off. That's usually how it goes. Another thing that's for me different here versus Canada, and in the States too, I've lived there as well. Down here, they pay for everything except electricity. So a lot of times Wi-Fi usually will come with, if you're paying gas and water and whatever else, the only thing you'll pay usually is for electricity. CFE is what it's called. So yeah, that's another great thing. Everything else is included, which is nice. Now, as far as cost for places to live, of course, it vastly depends on the style of place you're looking for and the location. For me, I live in the Romantica zone, which is one of the most expensive places, and I live flat, Romantica zone, a few blocks from the beach. So of course, I pay a lot, a lot for Mexico, but I don't have any hills or whatever. So depending on what you're looking for, if you don't need to be close to the bars and close to the restaurants and things like that, you can be a little further out, like a 10-minute walk or a little bit further back away from the ocean. Of course, things get way cheaper. I'm gonna give a little more details when I talk about like the cost of living and everything. But of course, depending on the area you wanna live, that's gonna impact the price. Now, I want to talk to you about speaking Spanish. Now, here's the thing. If you're thinking of moving to Mexico and you do not speak Spanish, it's okay, because neither do I. I'm learning, I swear. I have private classes 3 times a week. I'm obviously doing Duolingo as well. So I don't want to discourage you from learning, but I do want to say it's okay if you're not fluent yet. Now, especially in the Romantic zone, everyone speaks English, and it's almost annoying because it's making it really hard for me to learn. But, in other areas, of course, there might be less English speaking, so it might be easier to learn, but you will absolutely be able to get by. So just to let you know, it is okay if you don't speak Spanish yet, but I do encourage you to learn. Now, cost of living. So, of course, there's so many different ways that you can live. So of course, it's so funny. Some people ask how much should I bring with me if I'm coming down for a month? And it's like, girl, nobody can answer that question for you. Same thing. It's like, if I want to retire in PV, how much do I need of a pension? It's like, there's no way for anybody to answer that question for you. So wake up call. But I'm going to give you as much information as I can so that you can make that decision for yourself. Now, cost of living down here. So let's talk about rent first of all, because that's usually the biggest expense that anyone has. So rent. Now, I live in one of the most expensive areas, but the place I live, it's in a smaller building. I think there's 6 units. I'm actually at the rooftop right now. There's a little pool. So it has the cute little amenities. It's a smaller building. It's not super ultra modern, but it's beautiful. It's clean. Every room has AC. There's bug screens on all of the windows. It's very well done. It's cute. Yeah, you'll see. I pay just around $1,500 US per month, and I have a 2-bed, 2-bath condo right where I want to be. So that is, for me, the best, Of course, in this area, if you want to live in one of those more resort style buildings that you would stay in if you were coming here for vacation, whatever, 7 stories high, you've got the giant rooftop with the bar at the top, you can be paying up to 60,000 pesos, which is $3,000 a month, 70, 80 even. It so depends on the vibe and the style and all that stuff. And that's in the Romantica zone. you can usually find, studio one bedrooms in this area starting at about 20,000 pesos, which we'll say is about 1,000 US dollars. And then, if you're looking for more budget friendly, if you go up a hill a little bit, or if you go further back away from the ocean, still very safe. Everywhere here is super safe. If you go a little further back, you don't mind a walk, or maybe, I work in real estate, so of course I want to be right in the action. I live 2 blocks from my office. But, if you work remote and you want more of a quiet area, you'll spend even less. You can find things for, 10,000 pesos, more like 500 US dollars a month. So there's ways to do it super, super affordable, which is great. Now, of course, if you want to live in like the gated communities in El Tigre, you're paying more. If you want to live right in the romantic zone in a beautiful high rise with a modern pool, you're going to pay more. But what I love about PV is there's options. Unlike Vancouver, you go like an hour outside of the city and you're still paying the same. Anyways, now as far as like other things, there's some things that are super, super cheap here and some things that are super expensive. Not super expensive, but you know what I mean. So for example, like Uber comparatively down here is so cheap to the point where I don't have a car yet. I just know the process is going to be annoying, so I haven't gotten around to it yet. But Ubering down here is so cheap. Like I'll Uber 20 minutes away and it'll cost me like 100 pesos, which is like $5. So, Uber is very, very easy here. Of course, taxis too, like, even like longer trips, like if I'm going, to the airport might be like 200 pesos, which is like $10. It's super doable to like Uber everywhere. Other things that are cheap, if you like to hire a cleaning lady, someone to come and help you around the house, if you're looking for, help with cooking and stuff like that, that stuff is also very affordable down here, of course, compared to Canada. And then there's things that are like pretty average, like entertainment down here. Actually, I'd say entertainment down here is cheaper. Like there's some incredible shows at the Palm Cabaret, around the romantic zone. There's tons of drag shows and also like, impersonator shows and tons of like Las Vegas style shows. There's tons of stuff and tickets are, way cheaper of course than Vegas. But yeah, tons of stuff to do. Now, as far as food goes, again, similar to rent, you've got options. There are restaurants here in the zone and everywhere that are very much geared towards tourists and or have such amazing quality food that they're a little bit more expensive. I can go out and spend 500 pesos on an entree, which is like $25. Which, now that I say that out loud, like even like the nice restaurants here are cheaper than, back home. But there's also, what's so good is there's also restaurants that are very like mom and pop. You can pay 80 pesos, which again is like $4, and you'll get an entree, a soup, and a drink for that price. So there's ways to do whatever you're trying to do, which I love. And then, so that's going out to eat. Same thing with going out drinking. There's cute little cocktail bars like the Corner Bar. There's nightclubs, of course. But then, of course, like there's more like, not dive bar, but like there's cheaper places. You can get like a beer on the beach for like $2.50, like it's $2.50. Like it's, even less than that. Yeah. So there's again, different options for different budgets, which is so good. Now, as far as like cooking at home, if you live here and you don't want to go out every night, I get that. So what's nice here is that we have options like Costco. So and like there is Walmart. I feel like it's a little like sketchier here. I don't mind Walmart back home, but the Walmart here is kind of not so cute. But you've got options, which is good. I tend to shop at like the local market because I live super close to it. It's like 3 blocks from my house. So I go down to the local market and of course things are cheap there. It's great. I get like a kilo of this like flank steak and it's 200 pesos. So like $10 for like a kilogram of it. I tend to meal prep for the week. I love vegetables. So I'll actually twice a week, I go to the market and I get like all my veggies for all my salads and things like that, my avocado, all my fresh fruit and things like that, plus my meat for 1,000 pesos per week, which is $50 US, and that's per week. And that's all my vegetables and my meat, of course. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is the seasons here. So just briefly, because everyone asks like, what's high season? When's it nice there? What's the weather like? All those things. So high season when it comes to like rentals and like the most amount of people, November, December-ish to like March, April-ish. That's like the high season. That's where it's the busiest. That's where it's the craziest. Now, as far as weather goes, that's like the nicest weather because it's hot still. It's nice. It's sunny. It's beautiful. It's dry. It's not rainy season. And so of course, like that's when people want to be here. It's the nicest weather because in the summer it gets hot and humid. Now, I still like it because even though it rains and the storms are amazing to watch, it's so cool, but the sun always comes out. Like it's so nice because even if you come in the low season, in the hot season, which is from around like June until October, you know, it might storm like crazy all night, but then in the morning it's sunny, it's bright, it's fresh. It's nice. So you do get that refresh. It's not like Vancouver where it starts raining and it doesn't stop for the next 8 months. Here, the sun always comes back out and keeps me happy. So that's kind of like the vibe. It does get very, very hot and humid. So, you know, of course, when winter comes, I say winter because winter to me shouldn't be nice and sunny, but anyways, when winter comes, it's so refreshing. The weather in winter, of course, like during the day, it's nice. When it's sunny, it's so nice. It's usually sunny always. And then like at night, it cools down a little bit, but not much. Not to the point where you'll be cold. I don't think I ever feel like I need to wear pants. Sometimes if you're out on the boat past sunset, you might want to bring a jacket because, you know, you're on a windy boat, whatever. But yeah, that's it. The weather here is phenomenal. Now guys, thank you if you've made it this far. This was a video that I've wanted to make for a while, but I wasn't really sure the most important things to, you know, highlight. And I'm sure as soon as I post this, I'm gonna think of a ton of other things, but please help me out. If you guys would comment questions that you've always had about PV or, you know, anything about my journey, I'd love to share. Anything that, you know, maybe you think I might have experienced or whatever, I'm happy to help. So if you've gotten this far, also please make sure you subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to be creating a lot more content like this in addition to all my real estate stuff. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm here to help. I'm happy to help. And hopefully I will see you down in PV one day. If you see me on the street, please say hi. I always love to meet new people, so I would so much love that. But anyways, thank you so much for making it this far, and I will see you at the next one. Bye.